Pasadena Independent School District Board of Trustees in regular session on Tuesday, January 22nd, 2018, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 1515 Cherrybrook, Pasadena, Texas, at 4:03 p.m. Board members present are Mrs. Nelda Sullivan, Mr. Marshall Kendrick, Mr. Jack Bailey, Mr. Fred Roberts, Mr. Kenny Fernandez, Mrs. Vicki Morgan, and myself, Marisol Quijano. Let the record indicate that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting is duly called, and that a notice of this meeting is posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Codes, Chapter 551. The invocation will be given by Mr. Kendrick and the pledges by Ms. Sullivan.
Pray with me. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the way you guide and direct us. We thank you for the school system. We thank you for a community that has overwhelmed in the last many years, been a great support of everything that we've asked them to do and to fund. Even through tragedy of Harvey, we passed things that you wouldn't expect to pass, even in a normal year sometimes, and we just thank you for them. We thank you for our schools and for our teachers and all that are involved with our kids. The way this district focuses on the need and success of all kids, regardless. We thank you for the leadership of this district. We thank you for this board. We thank you for We're just grateful, Father, for all you do for us and the grace that you pour out upon us. We pray that you'll be with us today. We pray that you'll be the family of Ms. Wright and the loss of her and the funeral yesterday, which is a beautiful celebration of life. That's what it should be for one of yours. We just pray that you'll be with us tonight, give us discernment, let us have a good time and enjoy each other during the team building, and direct us to the meeting. In your name we ask it, amen.
Amen.
Would you please face the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We're fine. I mean, do I just read this one?
Yes.
Or this one?
Adjournment to closed session. I believe this
We'll now adjourn to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074 for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. 551.071 to consult with district attorneys concerning matters on which the attorney's duty to the district under the Code of Professional Responsibility clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act. When the district seeks the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or a settlement offer. 551.072 for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. We will reconvene at 7.
Holy moly. Is that it right there? Thank you. Long night.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. We now reconvene in open session at 7:09 p.m. with item number 3, special recognition.
Well, board members, in addition to being a great night, because we're here to recognize you, we have some other exciting announcements. I think you're going to recognize this first person very easily. Dr. Kirk Lewis is going to come forward. He's our awesome chairman of the McDonald's Texas Invitational Basketball Tournament. Let's hear it for Kirk. Bring up another friend, Cindy Palmer. She's our executive director, as we all know, of the Education Foundation, and Christina Womack, who's our Education Foundation president and volunteer chairperson for the steering committee. So we're excited to have them here, and Dr. Lewis is going to take it over and say a few words.
Good evening to all of you. It's good to be here and good to see a lot of familiar faces in the audience. It's always an exciting time for me to be able to come and speak to you, particularly about the McDonald's Invitational Basketball Tournament, and even more exciting that I get to go home when I'm finished. So it's a nice thing. On behalf of the McDonald's Texas Invitational Basketball Tournament Steering Committee, I want to thank the Board of Trustees and Pasadena ISD for all its support of the tournament. We could not do it without your support and without the support and involvement of all the employees and staff of the district who work the tournament and make it such a great event. We completed our 16th year with a very successful year, thanks to the hard work of the steering committee and those hundreds of volunteers that commit themselves to 3 days' worth of work over that time period. And I would also thank, at the same time, our generous sponsors, including McDonald's, our title sponsor for the tournament. We appreciate Maricel and Nellie Quijano for all you do to make the tournament a success. That partnership has been dynamic, and it's been a very good one for us, and I hope for McDonald's as well in the process. Tonight, before we make the check presentation, which is the most exciting thing that we do every year, we wanted to provide a couple of special recognitions for people who've made significant contributions to the tournament. And Christine will come and honor those, but before she does, I wanted to recognize some other folks who are special to the tournament because of their involvement from the beginning. When we did the awards presentations this year, we did two different things. We wanted to recognize some folks who have really contributed to the tournament, and certainly in all its parts. Ben Metter, all of his Metter staffing that worked so hard for the tournament, Rita Townsend and Darla Haygood, who have done so much in the background of that tournament. So this year, when the winning coach of the boys Division I championship team was given the Ben Metter Leadership Award, and the winning girls coach of Division I was given the Rita Townsend Leadership Award. And then each year, for the last couple of years, we've been presenting the Darla Haygood Volunteer of the Year Award. Well, what we thought it would be appropriate, because we don't want their legacy to leave us, that as we continue naming that we wanted them to have a replica of that trophy as well to recognize them. So Ben, if you and Rita and Darla would come forward, please. We have a copy of the trophy for you.
That's great.
And now I'd like to introduce Christina to make the other presentations of awards that we have this evening.
Okay, so outside of the Volunteer of the Award year that's given out every year, the steering committee wanted to introduce another award, and that award goes to somebody who goes the extra mile and was named the Barry Harris Extra Effort Award. And so I know that many of you know Barry Harris and his family for his dedication to the tournament as a volunteer. I don't know if anybody from his family is here. I don't think they were able to make it, but just want to ask just in case. No? Okay. So as Kirk said, the tournament can't happen without the work of more than 400 volunteers that work in a variety of different capacities, from selling t-shirts and tickets to food and putting the gyms together. And so the first award that we want to recognize tonight is the Barry Harris Extra Effort Award, which is going to go to Mr. Charles Washington.
Hey.
So for those of you who aren't familiar with how the tournament works, Charles served in the capacity as a facilitator at Dobie's 9th grade campus, which this was the first year that Dobie 9 had games held at their venue. And so thanks to Charles and his effort, he was made this an easy process and the best experience for volunteers, parents, referees, and of course all the teams. The team captain from Dobie 9 said she has worked this tournament for more than 10 years, and she was impressed, Charles, with what you did. Having all of the signs in place, having all of the teams assigned in their dressing rooms, the little details that made it easy for all of the volunteers. He had to assist with a few upset parents, and even was asked to help with laundering one of the team's dirty uniforms, and he did all of that with a smile on his face, certainly deserving the extra effort. So Charles, thank you so much for your commitment to the tournament all 3 days, and we look forward to having you back next year. Okay, our Volunteer of the Year award, as Kirk said, has been given out during the tournament, but in honor of all of the work that Darla did in the volunteers for the first 14 years of the tournament, this award was named in her honor. So Darla, I'm going to invite you to come up to present this award. And so this year, our Volunteer of the Year is Mr. Bob Ellis. Come on down, Bob. I don't know if you knew why you were here, but surprise! Most people know Bob and know that his commitment to this tournament has been happening since day one to make things tick. And Bob really serves as the lead for tournament logistics and stats and basketball brackets. He's always willing to explain those brackets to anybody that needs it, maybe 2 or 3 times, comprehending and the gym schedules. He certainly is instrumental in building the relationships alongside Mr. Metter from day one with the coaches and the teams all over the state. And so Bob's known for his help in the tournament team selection committee, as well as helping with all the refs and even filling in as a referee sometimes. He's multifaceted, his skills. And so, Bob, thank you for all of your work that you've done since the tournament's inception. We appreciate you.
I will probably pay for that sometime down the road. Very deserving for Bob. He is really helps me a lot in the operation of the tournament every year. Our final presentation is the exciting one. All the members of the steering committee and all the people of the board of the Education Foundation, if you'll please join us up front for the check presentation.
Where's Jack? You don't have Jack.
These people are absolutely instrumental in making the tournament work.
Good lady. Yeah.
Good deal.
I'm sorry. My phone's off.
As you know, the work of the Education Foundation is important to this community and to this school district. And the tournament was created not only to put the best foot forward for the city of Pasadena and the school district and the Chamber of Commerce, the 3 kind of front runners of this tournament, but is also designed to give money to the Education Foundation to the benefit of our teachers who work up many grants and submit many grants to the foundation, and hopefully then take that exceptional innovative learning strategy that they brought forward and put it into the lives of kids that absolutely make the difference in the way our kids learn and their ability to be successful in life. And so it's always a thrill for us as the tournament to be able to make this check presentation, because we know how well the teachers will spend it and how much good it will do for the kids that you serve. And so it's our thrill this year to be able to present a check to you that is the 2nd largest check that we have ever presented in the history of the tournament. So we're excited about that. The tournament itself raised $138,891.75. And then when you couple that with the Texas Invitational Golf Classic that Jack Bailey pulls together, that brought in another $35,000 for a total of $174,104.29.
Hey, crap, they're you. Herman, what are you doing? What's going on? Good to see you. How about Ricky?
Good to see you.
And again, just a final thanks to all those who help us pull together all the funds for this program. Want to give a special shout out to Marshall Kendrick. He heads our fundraising committee, and he did an exceptional job this year in support of that. And tonight, board, I just thank you again for all your support of the tournament. Thank you for all you do for this district, and in a very fitting month like this, I thank you for your personal relationship that you have with everybody out here and the work that you do on behalf of the teachers and the students of PISD. Y'all are awesome.
Thank you.
Well, board members, continuing with our great news, I'm going to introduce, and I don't really need to introduce her, but this is Amber McNeish, our PE Health and Wellness Coordinator, and she's going to say a few words about an awesome award that our team at Red Bluff Elementary have won.
Hello. Well, sadly, I don't have any more money to give y'all, but I do have some good news. So we are very blessed in this district to have some amazing PE teachers, especially at the elementary level, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. These two ladies have received for the second time the Tayford Exemplary Schools program. It recognizes schools for excellence in health and physical education, and it's a very rigorous award. There are 19 separate criteria, and it's also a writing test. You have to be able to express yourself in a written manner, which is sometimes difficult for physical educators, but they managed to accomplish this. I'm not making fun of them. I'm just saying, right, ladies, it's hard, right? They would agree with me. And so in 2015, Red Bluff Elementary was the first campus ever in the statewide to be named a Tayford Exemplary School. This year, they were the second campus to ever be named a two-time Tayford Exemplary School. So we're incredibly proud of them. But what I'm most proud of is these ladies were invited to meet with the Tayford Exemplary Schools Committee over the weekend to kind of give some feedback on the criteria and what they could improve. So they are helping to shape quality physical education statewide. So I would like to have you help me congratulate these ladies on being the two-time Tayford Exemplary Schools award winners, Ms. Kathy Bird and Pam Straker from Red Bluff Elementary.
Good job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, Amber, will you get them to sign a 10-year contract as they go through the construction process? Okay. I know. Okay. Well, y'all deserve more, but thank you for hanging in with us. Got to be here for that state-of-the-art gym, right? All right.
It's just gonna look like you're a bit down. Yeah, that's what it's.
So board members, we're going to brag on the board for just a second, because if you haven't noticed by our beautiful banner over here, January is Board Appreciation Month. So tonight, join with me as we join other districts across Texas honoring members of our Board of Trustees, which we believe, honestly, that we have the best school board in the state of Texas. Yep. So let's watch a short video that shows some of our memories from this past year and a message from some of our most important stakeholders, which are our students.
Proud San Rayburn Texan. The staff and the teachers they have there are nothing but supportive to their students.
Adobe has a solid foundation for education, learning for understanding rather than for completion.
I'm a proud South Houston Trojan. The pride that everybody has in their school. We all love each other. We're a big, happy family.
Pasadena Memorial cares very much about its students. You can get more one-on-one help from that teacher so you can learn more hands-on.
One thing that makes me proud to be a Pasadena Eagle is that the staff cares about their students and helps us better prepare for the future.
Attending the career pathway of auto collision at CTHS gives me the opportunity to gain hands-on work that I wouldn't get anywhere else.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pasadena ISD School Board.
Thank you, Pasadena ISD School Board.
So collectively, if you don't know this, our board members have accumulated over 125 years of experiences sitting up here at this table. Their longevity and commitment to our students, staff, and community is cause for celebration tonight. We're truly blessed, and I say that from the bottom of my heart, to have each of you serve on this board and for our students. They consistently approve and support innovative programs. They have helped our diverse student population be extremely successful, and their unwavering dedication to excellence is obvious to me in every conversation that I have with this board. They've earned the reputation of doing what's right for kids and all serving on behalf of the children of Pasadena ISD. And believe it or not, their reward is nothing but the satisfaction. They get $0 and 0 cents to put hours and hours and hours into reading board books, going over policy, approving budgets in good years and some not so good years, some bad years, and always looking for ways to improve our district. They support me 110%. I'm not going to get teary-eyed, I'll do that later. And attend thousands of events. And when I say that, those pictures were just a small glimpse of what they attend, whether it's games or award ceremonies or spelling bees or science fairs, you name it, across our district. So on behalf of the students, the staff, the community, and Pasadena ISD, I want to say thank you for helping us soar to success and for planting those seeds of success like the theme is saying this year. But join me together in honoring our outstanding Board of Trustees for PISD. Thank you, Rhonda Palmer. Sure you did. Well, we wanted to end on that note. We couldn't say enough good things, but we'll move on with the business at hand. So again, thank you, each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 4, public comments. We don't have any this evening. Section 3, consent agenda.
Madam President, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Section 4, personnel section. Item number 1, consideration and possible approval of administrative personnel.
Madam President, I move we approve addenda page A.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Mr. Fernandez. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Morgan?
And I'd like to introduce our next, our position of Coordinator Behavior Response, Amani Khalil. Amani? Did you bring family with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please introduce them?
Yes, that would be my pleasure. I would like to start by introducing my mother, who has been my inspiration for everything I've accomplished, and my wonderful and amazing supportive husband, along with my 3 beautiful children who are products of Pasadena.
Woo-hoo.
Very proud to have them in our schools, as well as my cousin, who's more like a brother to me. And then I also have my Pasadena family here, Ms. Gallegos and my teammates, Ms. Krishna Shah and Tina. I'm not sure how many other people might be here, but each of you have touched my heart, and I'm very honored to be taking on this role.
Very good. Congratulations.
We're very excited for you. Congratulations. Item number 2, certified personnel is for information purposes only. Item number 3, support personnel is for information purposes only. And for those of you that came to support anyone that would like to leave at this time, you're more than welcome to do so. Section 5, educational section. Item number 1, consideration and possible approval for naming the library at Turner Elementary School as the Patricia Wright Library.
Madam President, I move that we name the library at Turner Elementary the Patricia Wright Library.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mr. Roberts. Any discussion?
What a wonderful, wonderful tribute to a wonderful lady, wonderful teacher.
And we have 2 principals here, I see. Our current principal of Turner Elementary, and Keith Palmer is here. And then all these lovely ladies in pink are members of the Turner team as well. Miss Wright was, Karen, do you want to say it? Tears. Yeah, she was a rock star, and she's very deserving of this honor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, consideration and possible approval of the memorandum of understanding between the Pasadena Independent School District and the I Love You Guys Foundation.
Madam President, I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between PISD and the I Love You Guys Foundation.
Second. I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion?
And board members, I'll just say this is, again, part of our safety plan. We'll be coming to you later this year. Darla's been working with a committee with some further recommendations, so you'll be hearing about those down the road this year.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consideration and possible approval to purchase new uniforms for the Pasadena and Sam Rayburn High School choir and orchestra programs.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kendrick, a second by Mrs. Morgan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration and possible approval of the lit or dark fiber solutions for transport to Pasadena ISD Data Center E-rate CSP number 19P-010DG to the company who met the specifications.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mrs. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration and possible approval of the Internet Port Service without transport E-rate CSP number 19P-011DG to the company who met the specifications.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mrs. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, consideration and possible approval of the authorization to enter interlocal contracts with Lamar University for internship and externship students for the 2018 through 2023 school years.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mrs. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, consideration and possible approval for the career and technical education students to participate in national competitions during the spring and summer of 2019.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, consideration and possible approval for the 4 Bondi choir students, their parents, and the director to travel to Kansas City, Missouri, February 27th through March 2nd, 2019, to perform at the American Choral Directors Association Conference.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion?
What an honor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Section 6, student achievements are on pages 279 through 282. Section 7, policy update and review. We don't have any this evening. Section 8, financial section. Item number 1, consideration and possible approval of the budget amendments for the month of November.
I move we approve the budget amendments. Second. This is for the month of November, I'm going to specify.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration and possible approval of the budget amendments for the month of December.
I move we approve the budget amendments for the month of December. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consideration and possible approval of the resale of foreclosed properties for delinquent taxes at the address of 208 Thomas -058-338-002-0011.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration and possible approval of the resale of foreclosed properties for delinquent taxes, 0 Trishelle -075-0 -215-001-0001.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration and possible approval of the comprehensive annual financial report for 2017-18 school year.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mrs. Sullivan. And we have a presentation first.
Yes, board members, we have with us Debbie Kirkholm-Young, who's going to come and present this to you. Of course, she's with Weaver and Tidwell, so I'll let her take it over from here, but you also got this information in your packet.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Powell. Good evening, board. Glad to be here tonight to present to you your 2018 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report and also the results of the 2018 Federal Single Audit Report. This year, in your Statement of Activities, your government-wide on page 34 of your CAFR, your revenues from the primary government, charges for services, operating grants, and general revenues total $561,275,000. I'm just going to speak in the rounded numbers here. Your expenses were $466.9 million. You had an increase in net position of $94.3 million. The beginning net position in the government-wide financial statements were $341.3, and you had the prior period adjustment to implement GASB 75, which decreased net position $357 million down to $78 million. A few years ago, back in 2015, you had to implement GASB 68, which you had to recognize the district's proportionate share of liability of your pension plan. In 2018 fiscal year, you were required to implement what we refer to as GASB 75. And GASB is Government Accounting Standards Boards, and that particular statement said that districts would now also recognize their proportionate share of the TRS retiree health care, which is another post-employment benefit plan. And that was the effect that it had on the government-wide financial statements. As you noticed in your annual financial report, the district is making all their legislatively required contributions. Everything that the district was required to make has been made, as well as the states legislatively. But because those plans aren't fully funded, and especially health care is a pay-as-you-go plan, it's a significant liability to book. It's not on the fund level financial statements, it's just on the government-wide financial statements. The next important schedule is the Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes in Fund Balance for the General Fund. Brought in revenues of $536 million. Expenditures were $495 million, and you can see the key item there in expenditures is instruction. You had revenues excess of $40 million, other financing sources and uses of $12 billion, which reduced the net change in fund balance of an increase of $28 million, which brought fund balance beginning from $95 million to $123 million. And so looking at that compared to your total expenditures, you can see the district is maintaining their 3 months of annual expenditures. On the next page is just some general fund highlights. Also, I wanted to note on page 116 on the J1, it showed that your delinquent taxes receivable increased to $13.4 million, which is primarily related to your 2018 and 17 fiscal year. Your unassigned fund balance is 19% of annual expenditures. Your total fund balance is 25% of annual expenditures. And then your general administration runs 2.5% of total expenditures, which is less than your state average of 3%. The next column on that page of the CAFR in the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report is a Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Changes in Fund Balance for the Debt Service Fund. The Debt Service Fund had total revenues of $52.6 million. Your debt service expenditures were $71.1, an excess of expenditures of $18.4 million, and other financing sources and uses of $441,000. So you had a decrease in $18 million, which brought that fund balance from $51 million to $32 million. And as noted in your CAFR, if you go over to your changes in long-term liabilities, you're going to see that you called those bonds, and so the district made an additional cash defeasance on some bonds that they called to move down the debt. On page 40 of the CAFR, that same exhibit is your Capital Projects Fund. The revenues were 1.7 million, expenditures 49 million, an excess of expenditures of 47 million, other financing sources and uses 136 million, which increased fund balance 88 million, which brought fund balance from 45 million to 134 million. Also, I just want to mention those bonds, the par value was 120 million, but as you notice, that premium and that 15.9 million. So that's kind of a kudos to the district because of your financial position. You're able to get better ratings for your bonds, and people are willing to pay a premium to purchase those bonds. The next column on that same exhibit are the non-major funds. And when I refer to non-major funds, those are all the Title I, Title II, special ed, child nutrition, and your campus activity funds. And even though they're broke out in the latter part of your CAFR, in the front on page 40, they're combined in that one column, brought in 90.1 million, expenditures 92.6 million, excess of expenditures over the revenues of 2.5, transfers in 4.5, which net change in fund balance was 2 million, which changed fund balance from 12 million to 14 million. On page 168 of the federal awards section in that CAFR is the summary of auditors' results. And I always think this is one of the most important pages because districts and TEA and third-party stakeholders, they get the reports in many PEMS information, data feeds, and what TEA wants to know is how can they rely on that information. And the important thing is the opinion on the basic financial statements. The district again received a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That's the highest level of assurance that you can receive that your financial statements fairly present all the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And our audit was conducted in accordance with the auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America, as well as the government auditing standards that are issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. Also, in relation to the financial statements, there were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies as it relates to the financial statements. The opinion on the compliance with major programs was also unmodified or clean opinion. The major programs tested included Child Nutrition Cluster and also a Title IV Part B. And also there was in our control test for that 21st Century Grant, it was not a material weakness, but there was a significant deficiency in the testing of controls on that grant. But the error was less than $200. So that is how that would be communicated on that particular federal program. Other than that, I just want to thank Carla, Bethany, Stan, and even Derek sitting there. When we come at interim and at year end, we ask for a lot of information, and they're great about uploading lots of information on the portal for us. We're able to come and look and substantiate and look at hard documents that we may want to see. And then at year end, the same process, and we test lots of payroll, lots of accounts payable transactions, journal entry transactions, etc., bid processing, and we appreciate all of their courtesies and professionalism extended to us during the audit process. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have in regards to the CAFR.
You did a great job explaining, and this was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, consideration and possible approval of the investment brokers and dealers to engage in investment transactions with the district.
So move. Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Section number 9, item number 1, consideration and possible approval of a behavior-based energy conservation program services agreement.
So move. Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan, and we have a presentation, I believe.
Yes, board members, we have, I believe, Gary Clark here from Synergistic, and I think Kevin's going to come forward and make some introductions as well.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. Thank you, board members. I appreciate the opportunity to bring a new program to the district for behavior conservation for energy. As you know, we've been working really hard to cut our costs on utilities. You approved our natural gas contract for 27% savings last month, and also our electricity contract for significant savings. So this is kind of the next step for us to dig deeper into working with our existing equipment and trying to engineer that to work as efficiently as possible. We did a CSP for this services. Synergistic rose to the top for this. They've got over 30 years experience working in multiple districts, Spring ISD, Fort Bend, Friendswood, Dickinson, and they're also in Fort Worth and Mansfield. We're excited. They offer some really great services that I think are going to benefit the district and our savings. They've projected some pretty healthy numbers as far as energy savings, so we're going to be working with them to try and capture that as much as possible. The program is completely funded through the savings. So with that, I'd like to introduce Gary with Synergistic. Can you explain some of the program?
Thanks, sir. See if I can figure out how to get out of this. Your pace is so good on your board meeting, I may just be more brief than I was. You need to train other boards across the state. I've been doing this 25 years, and I'm not sure I've ever seen a more efficiently run board meeting. And so congratulations on that. Just a couple of comments. I've been asked just to make some very high-level overview statements about the program, but certainly I'll answer questions if you have them. This is a new funding source, really, is what we do. We don't sell any equipment. The utility budget is typically the second highest line item in the budget for most public schools in Texas. You're spending about $14.4 million, which is actually pretty good for the square footage that you have. But we think we can net you about $8.3, almost $8.4 million over a 5-year period. And those are net savings to the school district. So these are funds that are now going out to pay utility bills that instead can stay here to be used for kids or whatever the need is. And the funding is becoming more challenging. You're being asked to do more things with less money, and that's the way it is all the way across the state, even the country. And so this is a way to not solve all your problems, but certainly make a big dent in it. One of the things that I put up here, these are kind of the 3 C's we call them. We want to reduce utility cost. But the middle band is probably just as important, if not more important. We're not going to do anything to cause comfort problems for your staff. I just want to make that crystal clear. Comfort is a non-negotiable for us. So the bulk of the savings that will be generated will be after hours, weekends, holidays, the summer breaks. We want the teachers and your staff to have whatever they need to be comfortable, period. So that's your mission. The kids are your customers, and we want those kids and your staff to be comfortable. And then finally, we want to create a culture of conservation. We want everyone, even students, to be aware of how to not only use energy, but how to save it. So this is a really big part of what we do. I'm just going to skip to this just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of what will come in and out of the district. We've got a software platform called Series, and this helps our staff and your staff see where the opportunities are out in the buildings. We get real-time alerts, so if a bill is out of whack compared to what it usually is, we get notified right away, so we can go out to the building and see what's going out there. The second piece is the embedded energy specialist. We're going to provide 4 full-time energy specialists that will be working on our payroll, but they'll be full-time in Pasadena ISD over the 5-year program. So you're not having to hire these people. We hire them. We don't get paid unless we save you money. So that's the common thing that makes it an easy decision to partner with us. But these full-time people will be in the buildings at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, weekends, holidays, working with your staff, making sure the building is comfortable while it's occupied, making sure it's been set back properly when it's not. And so that is just a little bit of who we are. We're heavily technology-oriented, heavy on engineering. We've got a team of about 54 specialists, including about 11 mechanical engineers that come in and work with your staff. I just want to take the opportunity to brag on Mr. Fornoff. I know that I'm not saying something you don't already know, but he's been a pleasure to work with. He runs a really tight ship over there, good staff, and that's one of the things that attracted us to Pasadena. We're just as picky about where we go as you are about who you bring in as a partner, because again, we don't get paid unless we can reduce your consumption. Just a couple more things. These are just some screenshots of the software, and this, you probably can't see this really well, but this kind of highlights the savings, 8.3, just short of 8.4 million over the 5-year period. Includes the software licensing, includes all of the experts that come in, the engineers, et cetera, to not only train your 4 energy specialists, but to train your maintenance staff. In Fort Bend, we did a lot of maintenance training with indoor air quality and with moisture management. As we all know in Houston, that's a big deal. And so we work all over the country in coastal areas, and so we help everybody get on the same page with moisture management. So that just gives you a quick overview. We guarantee to cover your cost every year. You get 4 embedded energy specialists. We don't get paid unless we reduce your consumption. And so we're looking forward to the possibility, assuming you go forward, to being a partner with you and saving you some money. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
I understand what you're doing. I think it's great. In this program, do we spend capital money that's got quick payout to meet these needs?
You do not. So we don't sell anything. We don't ask you to buy anything. There are hundreds of companies that do that, and there's nothing wrong with that approach. I'll show you one graphic that I don't know if you can see this really well, but what we do is the far left. This is conservation. So we take what you already have and help you use it more efficiently. The middle piece is what you're talking about. All of our clients do this. It's LED lighting, it's new chillers, it's new boilers. There's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't free up cash. You have to take the savings to pay for the equipment. Yeah. It might be 2 years for lighting, might be 15 years for a big chiller. So there are 2 different approaches that accomplish 2 different things. They're both good, but the reason our clients like what we do so much is we're freeing up money right away, not having to wait for 2 years or 10 or 15 years. And then the far side is something you're doing as well, which we don't do. That's locking in different rates. So those are kind of the 3 components with energy conservation in a school district that you can do. The biggest bang for the buck is our approach. We average about a 26% reduction in electricity, gas, water, and sewer.
Awesome. One of the things that you talked about was moisture management. Mm-hmm. And obviously, during your presentation, one of the things that I thought about when we have conserved energy before, especially in the summertime, you know, I've been on the board a long time, and we've shut down air conditioners in the summer. Well, what happens is in our libraries, those books, you know, mildew, and they get to where they're unusable. So I want to make sure that what we're doing is we are conserving energy, not completely turning it off, so that those kind of things don't happen.
We couldn't agree with you more.
Okay.
So we don't like to use the word shut down ever, because we really never shut anything down. We like to use setback.
Yeah.
And I'll just give you just a real quick illustration of that. Humidity is not so much about the temperature as it is the dew point.
Right.
You can put 65-degree air in there thinking we're putting enough air to really make it better, and you have condensation on your windows. Okay. So it's not about the temperature. That's part of the equation, but it's mostly dew point. So we've been into most of our clients in coastal areas. Some buildings are managed well, some are doing exactly what you say. And so we bring in the expertise to look at every facility, the type of controls that building has, the way it's being used currently, the load of the building, and get everybody on a plan that conserves energy but make sure that we don't have any moisture issues.
Very good.
That's paramount of importance to us. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration and possible approval of the design development phase for the new maintenance, operations, and warehouse facility project.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kendrick, a motion by Mrs. Morgan, and we have a presentation.
We do. I want to introduce two of our architects that you're very familiar with. First of all, I want to thank you on behalf of all of our service departments for passing this in the bond election. We're very excited about these facilities. They are going to accomplish a lot of the action steps that we had in our strategic goals.
What strategy, Kevin?
Strategy 6.
Good job.
So we're very
Give
excited.
him $100. Where's Steve?
He's gone.
Okay.
So we're bringing both designs tonight, and the reason for that is they both work hand in hand, as you know. Maintenance operations and the warehouse and transportation are all housed together in Lafferty. So we've got to coordinate and phase this where we can demo some of the maintenance buildings, rebuild them on another site, and then kind of phase in transportation. So it's going to be hand in hand, both those projects. So the first one is going to be the design and development for the new maintenance and operations facility, and I think Charles Bouzois is going to kick us off, and then Mike's going to take over.
Thanks, Kevin. And of course, always I want to start off by thanking you for the opportunity. We always appreciate the trust that you show in our firm for these projects. And this one's been a little bit different than a lot of them, but it's been, I think, educational for everybody. To start off, both Jerry Crampton and Tom Douglas have been involved from the get-go. Part of the process has been to go and see a number of facilities from other districts, and I think they would probably confirm that in addition to the actual physical improvements we're making, you probably picked up some tips procedurally from other districts, and I think that's going to help some. I don't think we're going to save you $8 million, but I think we're going to probably the combination is going to save that. So. Again, as always, thanks to Kevin and to Shauna, who's our project manager on this project. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mike Langley, who's our project manager for the rest of the presentation.
All right, thank you for having us here this evening to go over this project with you. Just to orient you on the site, this site is a piece of property that the district currently owns at the corner of South Shaver and North Broadway. The site plan, we're planning 3 different entrances into the site so that we've got good access into the district. We're looking at one entrance coming off of South Shaver, which we look at being a big truck entrance when they're bringing in things into the warehouse. We look for them coming off that area. We're looking at adding the marquee sign at that location to give that footprint for people to know where this facility is located. Down at the bottom of the site, at the south side, we've got a road that will line up with Almeda Genoa. And then on the other side, we'll tie into the small residential street, Walled Road. On the site plan, to the far east side of the site is where we've sited the maintenance facility. You can see that in the kind of dark peach color. In the light peach surrounding that maintenance facility, we've got a covered parking area for all of the district vehicles. And in talking with Tom, we think that that's going to extend the life of your vehicles to be undercover and also better secured up against the building. In the area to the east is a covered area for the large maintenance equipment. And then at the south end of it is the main entrance into the facility, so that's the main visitor parking lot with another parking area to the west of that facility for most of the maintenance personnel's personal vehicles. As you can see, the drive that comes down from Shaver kind of moves in between those 2 facilities, and so then the warehouse is located just to the left of that, or to the west. Again, we have the main entrance with a parking lot off the south side of that facility. We have parking for their personnel to the east of that building. And then also on the left, we have, again, covered parking areas for their equipment. And then we have a yard for their material storage that they have. And the dark green is where the detention pond would go. And then in the dashed area, we're showing an area for future development, which could be either district functions or if y'all wanted to sell that piece of property off to use for other functions. But it's about a little over 10 acres that we've got reserved for that. reorient you here, the plan fits better going this direction, moving from the south, which is to the right of the page. This is the maintenance facility, would move into, in the purple is the administrative function. And most of that is typical offices, but one thing I want to show you is that with each of the supervisors, what we've done is we've created a suite in working with Tom, and so the supervisor's office will open off onto the main court of the administration area, and then behind that we've got a work and break room and meeting room for each of their guys. So they come in the mornings and they can get lined out. They've got places to put their personal things. They can have lunch there. They can have meetings there and all those kinds of functions. That's going to work out really well for them. And then moving through into the maintenance area, in the light purple is the parts office and the building material storage. In the kind of darker blue is the pest control office, and with their hazardous storage. Just to the above that in the light blue is the welding shop, and right across from that is the tool storage area. And the light green is the wood shop area, and the light pink is the refrigeration area. And then in that pink area in the middle is a caged area where they have shop areas for plumbing, mobile maintenance, air conditioning, things like that. We have custodial equipment repair areas, an area with a large door in that gray area so they can bring materials into their shops. And then the other functions along with, we've added a training room, which is shown in kind of that orange color. And that training facility is an area that they can do trainings. They can also do their large gatherings that they do when they want to get all of the maintenance people together to try to do some kind of a training or a different function that they want to do with their people. And then we've also got a large covered area in there to kind of be an extension of that for eating lunch and things like that.
How many people would that hold?
That is set up to hold, I believe, 75 is what we put in there. For the warehouse, again, in purple is the main administrative function. You come into a holding area and a large reception area with offices around the perimeter. Again, moving up to the east there in the orange, again, a training facility. This one is about the same size, but it's split into two by an operable wall. They have different times when they need two different groups in there, and so we've allowed them that function to where they can get two different groups in there at the same time, two smaller groups. Then moving into that light blue area is the actual warehouse itself. And as you can see in gray is the loading dock, and the two in gray are actually loading dock height areas for large trucks. So they have two of those with the office directly adjacent to that to see those coming in. And then one of the things that we've done with this is, if you've been to the warehouse, which I'm sure you have, everything is low height right now. Everything is single stack height. But we're envisioning this to be tall enough to have 3 pallets high of storage to try to gain, rather than having the footprint spread out as much, have some of that, gain some height from that, which we think is going to be successful. And then there's storage rooms around that. And then in the green area is where their grounds crew is. And what we've done, and one of the things that we saw at one of the facilities that we visited that we thought worked really well, was to have a drive-through for those, for their yard cutting vehicles. And what this does, a couple of things. One thing, right now, at the end of the shift, they have to take all of their loose tools, the smaller tools, take them and store them somewhere, and then in the morning they got to put all those back on the truck before they go. So there's 30 minutes, 45 minutes every morning and every afternoon that they spend doing those things. So we think it's going to help with their production. It's also going to help with their security of being closed in those areas. And then around that they have break rooms and other storage facilities. The elevations of the maintenance center. And the colors are not finalized yet, but we're looking at, it's a pre-engineered metal building. We're looking at insulated metal panels for the facing of it. And we just want to provide some kind of different colors for this. We thought it'd be nice to have, one color so that as they come to the site, they can tell them which direction they're going. Look for the blue canopy for ours, look at the red canopy for the other, or whichever color we decide on. These are kind of placeholders for now as we go through those discussions. But you can see that around the perimeter of it, you can see the covered canopy area that houses the district vehicles.
Now, is it all pre-engineered, or is the tan color, is that brick?
No,
or-
it's all pre-engineered metal
Okay.
building with metal panels.
Okay.
These are just all the 4 elevations. Again, you can see where we've got the covered parking areas on the side. We've also raised up some areas where we know that we're going to be bringing in larger equipment. And so we've got areas they can bring in larger vehicles and get forklifts and those kinds of things through there. The warehouse, again, this one more with a red canopy to it is what we're looking at, and you can see how we've got a tall area for the actual warehouse itself to where we can get the height for the pallet racks that we're looking for. And on these elevations, again, you can see here on the north elevation where how the truck loading dock is, how it slopes down to provide the access there. You can also see that on the east elevation as well. Schedule-wise, if you approve this today, we'll be right in the middle of construction documents, looking at, this is properties in the city of Houston, which, as you know, is always an interesting thing for getting permits done. So we're going to try to issue for building permits in March, so we can try to get a jump on that while we're finalizing everything.
We have a question. Mr. Roberts?
Question. I was looking at your maintenance floor plan.
Yes, sir.
Is it a good practice to put the welding shop next to the fertilizer and the hazardous waste?
They're separated by CMU partitions and all. I don't see that there's going to be any danger from that.
So you feel comfortable with that, with the fertilizer and the nitrogen and the hazardous waste right next door to the welding shop?
I think with the way it's separated, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Charles, I don't know if you...
I think we're comfortable with the separation we provided, but it's certainly something I think we have the ability to move around.
That's pretty explosive stuff, and that's the only thing I would encourage you to look at it just because of that reason and because of the different items you've got there. I mean, as long as you say it's safe, as long as this architect says it's safe, it's on y'all's back. But I'm telling you, it's not a very good, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have them next to each other, but I'm not the architect.
We'll take a look at it again.
It's certainly early.
One of the things that might be taken into consideration is when we first started purchasing large quantities of fertilizer, I checked with the fire marshal about the storage characteristics. He said since 911 they changed the chemical components to where it's not as explosive as it was prior to that. So there was less of a concern about the fire hazards.
With the fertilizer?
With the fertilizer that we use.
What about the pest? You've got 2 other rooms that are, it's hard to read this. One's pest control products, and the other one is hazardous waste. So do y'all have any flammable hazardous waste?
We do, but those chemicals are stored in a smaller area. Although it's labeled hazardous chemicals on the print, the chemicals that you would be concerned about are in a smaller area to the side that's air conditioned to keep them cool. So they're a little bit more isolated than that large area. There is supposed to be a CMU wall separating the 2 areas.
Well, like I said, you're welding them next to a situation that if you had a fire in the welding shop and then if it was through CMU porous concrete, you would have some issues there. But if you feel like it's good, then that's fair. You're the architect.
Like I said, we'll take a look.
Y'all got errors and omissions insurance.
That's a good point, though.
We'll do a fire sprinkler, but I think it is a good point. I think we'll take a second look at it. I think some of those functions are fairly easily shifted around.
I just...
It's a good idea for us to take a second look at that.
Y'all haven't highlighted, isn't there a shower somewhere in these buildings? Is there not a shower?
Yes, we do have a shower.
There's a shower. Sorry.
It's right next to the welding room.
That's all right. This other little bitty pink room is the one the superintendent's new office is.
Will y'all have me?
Okay, so like I was saying, we're going to try to issue building permits in March, try to get at least the first round of comments in before we issue for construction documents in early May. Look to bring bids in late May and bring that to you at the June board meeting for the award of the contract. We're going to start right after that in July and be finished in August of 2020.
Question, how did this area hold up during Harvey?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that we've got, I know that it's a better piece of property than some of the other ones that we've looked at, and we know that we're going to have some detention requirements. And so, we are investigating all of that right now as we go to the CDs.
I don't remember those homes being flooded.
I don't know for sure how it will.
Okay.
There's one thing about this property has,
I think, some multiple jurisdictions from the Corps of Engineers and the City of Houston related to flood control. So we're still in the process of determining exactly who has full control over that. But either way, with all the flooding, we're not going to do anything from a finished floor standpoint to jeopardize that. And also, as Mike said, from a site work standpoint, having that detention pond is going to be a huge help to control that. Of course, if we get 48 inches of rain 48 hours, it's going to be a challenge, but I think we'll be okay on the finished floor elevations.
Thank you.
Are we making allowances in the detention pond for the development, the possible future development, this 8.7 acres, or would that be something that would have to be enough space for if someone bought and built something there, they'd have further detention requirements?
Our detention does not cover that additional area right there. We had some conversations about that, and there's some complexities as far as, who owes what as far as maintenance and that kind of thing. And so the decision was made that at least to begin with, we'll go ahead and just provide the detention for this site, for the portion that we're using. And then I guess it's not impossible if you did sell that property to someone as part of that agreement, you could maybe add to the capacity of that detention pond at that time. And if it's at a time that's prompt enough for construction, you could even do it without, within that contract. Might be a selling point, for a potential buyer.
Ken Brown is working on looking at potential interest in those property. He's had some interest. They just didn't want the amount of acreage. So now that it's a smaller tract, he's talking to some potential buyers.
Good. About how wide is that? Do you have any earthly idea from Shaver, say, back to the dotted line?
It's about 250 feet.
So not much if someone was going to put a building in there.
Maybe a strip center or something.
Well, but then you've got detention somewhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just curious.
Is the district, excuse me, the district responsible for the maintenance of the detention pond?
Yes.
Not only do you have to maintain it, but you have to have it inspected. But in most flood authorities, you have to have it inspected once a year, once every other year. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then maybe bring us to what degree? Are y'all, the question was, are y'all raising the property at all or extra? Not at all.
That's probably what we're looking at.
Okay.
My guess is yes, we're going to be raising at least those areas where the building is to make sure that we're in good shape there.
Okay.
But those final decisions haven't been made yet. That's the next part of the process.
Good looking building.
Yes.
Good looking facility.
Yes, very nice.
Any questions that y'all have?
We're gonna need Tom and Jerry to sign long-term contracts to be here.
Jerry and Tom
I like Tom and Jerry.
We all do.
We love Tom and Jerry,
Yes.
so we'll sign your long-term contracts at the end of the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank y'all.
I have a motion by Mr. Kendrick, a second by Mrs. Morgan. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consideration and possible approval of the design development phase for the new transportation facility project.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan, and we have our last presentation.
We do. I'd like to introduce Lisa Michella from IBI, and Danny Brewster is here also. So, thank you.
While she's getting ready, I'm popping in just to say thank you again for considering us, giving us the opportunity to work for the district. Longtime best client. We're very, very happy to be here. It's been an interesting project. You're going to see some really interesting solutions to really complex problems that had a lot of really helpful involvement by the school district. But at that, I'll turn it over to our most recent associate principal named at our firm.
Good evening. I can't begin the presentation without first thanking the design committee. Their expertise, their advice, their help was greatly appreciated and allowed us to produce and design a great facility. So thanks go out to Robert Stock and his team at the Transportation Department, and Kevin and Israel at Facilities, and then also the inspectors and the Transportation, or the Technology Department for their input as well. So what you see on your screen is the site that you have right now. You have Lafferty on the east and West Side Drive on the west, and Spencer Highway is to the north, and that's just up off the top of the screen. So right now the site is shared between maintenance and operations and transportation, and once we get maintenance and operations off-site, we can then take it over for all the transportation use, with the exception of a laundry facility. So what you see right now is a warehouse up at the top northwest corner of the site, and then below that is the laundry maintenance building, and the laundry portion of that building is on the west side of the building, and we need to keep that portion of the building because that is the central laundry facility for the district, and it is still being utilized. Below that, we have the current shop building, and next to that, we have the diesel pumps and the unleaded pumps. And then in the southeast corner of the site, we have the operations building, and just above that, facing Lafferty, is the admin dispatch building. So there's also a lot across the street from Lafferty, and that is purely used for parking, both buses and automobiles right now. And then there is an existing detention pond over there as well. The blue line that you see that runs diagonally across the screen, that is an existing pipeline that is under the site, and we have to avoid that. The area that you see in red in the middle, that has some existing equipment that we need to leave there as well. There's a center point building, there's a concrete pad that's just above the gas pipeline, and then there's also a new Wi-Fi cell phone tower that you guys built a couple years ago. So we had to avoid all that. And what you're looking at now is the new site plan. So this site came with its own set of complications. Besides the pipeline and that area in the center of the site that we had to avoid, the site had some drainage issues. There was some flooding during Harvey, and also when there's heavy rains, and that's mostly up in the northwest corner of the site. But the site is pretty flat, and so we have to get it drained, and we decided to drain it from south to north, and you'll see a large detention pond up at the north side of the site. And from there, we are draining that to a storm pipe that's going to be built under Lafferty, and that's going to be done under a separate package, and that's going to go and extend up and connect to the storm up at Spencer Highway. And that was actually the best case scenario for us. The other option would have been to outfall to Vince Bayou, and that would have involved the Corps of Engineers, and that would have been a big headache. So this actually worked out great, and we worked with the city in order to do that. Another thing is that this, the Transportation Department had to remain operational while construction was going on. So that meant that we had to put the new buildings in locations that are not where the old buildings are. And so I'll show you in a minute where those are. We had to keep the existing laundry building, and we are isolating that from the rest of the site by a fence so that they are completely separated from each other. We also had to fit as much parking as possible on this site, and we did many options trying to figure that out. It was a big puzzle, and this is the best scheme that we came up with. So to the north of the site, we have the new shop building, And just below that to the south, we have the new diesel pumps and the new unleaded pumps. And there are some above-ground tanks just to the side of the building. Right now, they are underground, but we're moving them above ground. It makes things easier with all the regulations. Over where the old admin dispatch building is, right behind that, we're going to build a new admin dispatch building. And surrounding that building is pretty much all your automobile parking. And then behind that and up near the shop, that's all bus parking. And then across the street, across Lafferty, we will be using that lot, not doing much to it, it is fairly new, but we will be filling in some of the islands with concrete and restriping it to allow us to fit as many spots on that site as possible. We are moving the bus wash over to that lot as well. The bus wash is currently connected to the existing shop building. And we're moving it across the street because there was some unused space over there that we couldn't park buses or anything like that. And so it just made sense, and it allowed the buses to get in and out pretty easily, and it worked well for us. So altogether, we're fitting about 377 buses on the site. And I think it's 355 or 335 automobiles, and we're reserving 25 of those car spaces for the white fleet. It's just an isometric of the site showing the new shop building, the new admin dispatch building, and then the new bus wash across the street. This is the floor plan for the admin dispatch building. It's rotated a little bit to fit on the slide well, but pointing up, that's the side that's facing Lafferty. And that's also where the main entrance is. So the main entry is right in the middle, and you can come in, and if you continue straight, you walk into the waiting room, and that's for visitors or people interviewing or whoever needs to come to the building. If you continue on, you hit the dispatch office, and across the corridor from that, there's mailboxes and the key slots for the drivers. To the left of the slide is the office area, and so that has all of the offices, the director, assistant director, routing, training, camera, all of those. There is a break room specifically for the offices, and there's a small little kitchenette area, and then they also have a small conference room. And then right in the center of the building, on the opposite side where the buses are parked, is a vestibule, and I'm being told that this is the area that the drivers are most excited about, because what that allows them to do is come in after hours when the building is locked. They can get into the vestibule, they can use the restroom that's right next to it, they can grab a Coke from the soda machine or get some ice, so it just gives them a place to kind of get some stuff done when they get back. To the right side of the building, you'll see more of the assembly areas, so we have a large lounge, and that also has a small kitchenette area for them. And then across the corridor, there's a large training room that can be divided into 3 separate training rooms. This is the floor plan for the shop. To the left of the screen, which is the west side of the building, that is pretty much the office areas. So there's only really 3 offices in this building. We have the fleet manager, the supervisor, and the secretary, and those are located at the bottom. And then we have another small conference room. We have a break room for the shop workers, and we have their own locker rooms and restrooms and showers for Fred. We have, to the right of the screen, we have all the service bays. So there are a total of 16 service bays, and that includes the lube bay, the upholstery bay, the prep bay, and the paint booth. In the middle, we have some storage and some room for the parts, the large and the small parts. And we also do have one little office in there as well, and that's for work orders, so it needs to be in the middle of everything. On each side of the shop building, we have 2 large overhangs. They're 45 feet deep, and that allows them to park a bus under the cover, and they can work under cover. And what you're seeing here is the second floor plan. Because the building has to be so tall for the buses, there are some areas that aren't utilized, so we put some mezzanines over the office areas. So in the middle of the shop area, we have a tire and storage mezzanine, and it's similar to what they have now. But we also gave them additional storage mezzanine over the offices, and then we also put the mechanical room upstairs as well. here are the elevations of the building. This is the admin dispatch building. It's going to be a pre-engineered metal building, but this will have brick wainscot at the bottom and then metal panels above. And we also elected to give it a pop of color with the blue for the metal roof and different metal elements. And the same goes for the shop building. You'll see that the shop building has some tall overhead doors and some shorter ones, and that's because the shorter ones have the mezzanine over them and they don't need to be as tall anyway. And here's some perspectives of the shop building. You can see the fuel pumps out front, the large overhang outside the building, the fuel storage tanks to the side, and this is the admin dispatch building, very similar. You got the main entry with the curved metal canopy over top. When we first started this project, we toured different facilities and then we made our way over to the existing buildings here and kind of took inventory to see what they had and approximate square footages. And then we met with the committee and discussed what they needed and what size rooms they needed. And so what you see on the chart on the screen is just the net square footages. That doesn't include the walls and it doesn't include things like the corridor. But what I want to bring your attention to is the numbers at the bottom, and this is the gross square footages of the building. That's outside wall to outside wall. And the admin dispatch building came in at about 21,500 square feet. And just to give you reference, the existing admin building is just over 13,000 square feet. And for the shop building, it came into almost 28,000 square feet, and the existing is right at 21,000 square feet. The budget for this project is $17 million, and it's a very heavy site project, so that's about half of the budget. Just over $8 million. The building will be just under $8 million from what we predict, and then the laundry renovation and demo will be around $1 million. So the schedule is really contingent on the maintenance operations. So we're predicting to start construction at the end of 2020, and we will, however, be starting construction documents now, and we will apply for permit at the end of June and get that process going, and then it will be held at the city, and we've already gotten their approval to do that. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Will there be a ventilation system in the shop where they'll be able to work with the doors down?
Yes, there will be. It's not going to be a conditioned space, but we will have it ventilated and heated during the winter and
So they'll be
fans
able
going in the summer.
So they'll be able to continue to work and not be concerned with, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Do we have any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration and possible approval of the transfer of unused 2014 bond program facility management funds to the 2014 bond contingency pool.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration and possible approval of the priority facility upgrade projects and the funding by the 2014 bond contingency pool.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Section 10, construction update. There's a handout. Section 11, miscellaneous section. Item number 1, communications, none this evening. Item number 2, public comments. We don't have any additional this evening.
Question.
Yes.
What's the update on Red Bluff? Where are we at on Red Bluff?
As far as design?
Can you come to the
build.
microphone, please? Thank you.
We had a pre-proposal last week, and we've got about, I think, 8 or 9 very good general contractors that have picked up plans. It bids February 5th, I believe.
And they're going to be, while they're doing that Are they tearing, what's the process? They're tearing that one down, building a new one, or they're building a new one and?
It's going to be phased. Yeah, we're going to tear down a couple of the wings, build a portion, and then tear down the rest.
Like Pomeroy.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty painful, but Tammy, you're up for it, right? Okay. They're going to be squeezed in like sardines for a while, but they've got good attitudes about it. We'll be baking her cookies instead of her baking us cookies. It's going to be interesting.
It's the end goal.
It'll be beautiful.
Oh, it's going to be worth it.
It will be, yeah.
Everybody's doing great.
I have a question.
Yes, Miss Sullivan.
Kevin, how old is Pearl Hall Elementary?
Not old.
You know, Tom?
I want to say about
2007.
That sounds about right.
12?
That sounds about right, because it was built before Lomax, because...
2007 is when it opened.
Opened, okay, 2007.
I thought the chillers would last longer than that.
Yeah, they should have.
Uh-oh.
Just we've had some problems. There's a particular type of, the type of compressors have, in the two chillers at that site, have just failed sooner than we thought. We had one went down a month later, another one went down, so we were going to replace the chillers, or the compressors rather, and then a third went down. So our thought was we really ought to replace the chiller and just get that out of the way. We have several other chillers of the same manufacturer and time era that we're a little bit concerned about because we've seen so many failures at this campus. So we can use the compressors out of the chiller we're covering. We can have them rebuilt in case some of these other failed. So that was the reason for replacing this one right now.
Well, when I read this, I just couldn't believe that the chillers were gone down because I remember
Right.
when we built.
They usually do last longer. I don't know if it's the brand of chiller. It's a McQuay, but we don't have an explanation. They just have started to fail, and so we've got to do something. We thought they would be better to get a chiller, a new chiller in there, so we have some redundancy in case.
Were they an off-brand product?
No, it's a McQuay chiller. It's Daikin now. They've changed names, but it's just that particular style at that particular site doesn't seem to have held up. We don't have any anomalies that we're aware of that caused it to do that. So we're just trying to get something in. We're getting a different brand chiller in that we're getting a carrier in.
Okay.
And it should be compatible with the type of system they have. It will work. So.
It will connect with what's there.
Yes, it's called a parallel Dell. It's like the chillers all feed into one big chill water loop, so it won't make any difference if you have two different types.
And the same thing at Morales. It's not that old either.
Well, Morales is 28 years old.
Is
So
it
yes,
that
it was
old?
time to, we've already replaced so Mathis, Morales,
Karen.
Turner, and Bondi all have the same type of heating system. It's a water source heat pump, and so they have they have an odd type of boiler. So we replaced that at Turner, failed several years ago, replaced that, Bondi. So this is just, we're kind of expecting it, so.
And so, it being Board Recognition Month, and we can remember when those schools were built. Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
And our last item is the recommended date for our next regular board meeting would be Tuesday, February 26, 2019.
I move that Tuesday, February 26, 2019 be our next regular board meeting.
Second.
Have a motion by Mrs. Morgan, a second by Mr. Roberts. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and that concludes our meeting at 8:38 PM. Good night, everyone.